Ever felt the ground shake beneath your feet? Ever wondered what causes this terrifying phenomenon? Well, let's delve into the world of geology and find out. You see, the Earth's crust isn't one solid piece but is divided into several large sections known as tectonic plates. These plates are constantly moving, albeit very slowly due to the heat and pressure generated from the Earth's core. Now imagine these plates as giant puzzle pieces floating on a sea of molten rock. Sometimes these pieces move apart, and sometimes they collide. When they move apart, it's like opening a pressure valve and we get volcanic activity. But when they collide or slide past each other, well, that's when things get really interesting. The pressure builds up over years, even centuries. Then, in a matter of seconds, it releases, causing the ground to shake and rumble, an earthquake. Now, if this happens under the ocean, like it did recently in the Sea of Japan, it can trigger massive waves known as tsunamis, adding to the devastation. Now that we understand what causes earthquakes, let's delve into the recent seismic event in the Sea of Japan. On the first day of 2024, the Earth shuddered in western Japan. The day that was meant to usher in new beginnings instead brought with it a forceful reminder of the planet's volatile nature. Underneath the Noto Peninsula of Ishikawa Prefecture on Honshu, Japan's main island, seismic forces were gathering strength, and then, without warning, they were unleashed. A magnitude 7.5 earthquake rippled through the region, its epicenter nestled in the peninsula. The energy radiated outwards, shaking the earth and the lives of the people living there. The region, with its population density of 705 individuals per square mile, was caught in the grip of nature's raw power. The initial reactions were of shock and fear. The ground beneath their feet, usually so solid and reliable, had betrayed them. Buildings swayed, power lines toppled, and the very infrastructure that supported their lives was suddenly under threat. The immediate aftermath was a scene of chaos and confusion. Power outages plunged the region into darkness, further exacerbating the sense of fear and uncertainty. Injuries, ranging from minor cuts and bruises to more serious conditions, began to flood local hospitals. And most devastatingly, there were deaths. People who had been celebrating the dawn of a new year were suddenly mourning the loss of loved ones. Yet amidst the chaos and the heartache, there was a sense of resilience, a determination to face the challenge head-on and to begin the process of healing and rebuilding, because in the face of such a catastrophe, the response is critical. When disaster strikes, the response needs to be swift and organized. In the wake of the Sea of Japan earthquake, this was exactly the case. The immediate response was a whirlwind of activity, each step carefully planned and executed to mitigate the effects of the disaster. The focus was on saving lives, reducing suffering, and restoring basic services. First, resources were allocated. This is a crucial step in any crisis response as it ensures that all necessary supplies, personnel, and equipment are dispatched to the areas that need them most. From medical supplies for the injured to food and water for those displaced, the allocation of resources is a complex task that requires a deep understanding of the situation on the ground. Simultaneously, search and rescue operations were launched. These operations are the backbone of the immediate response to any disaster. Trained professionals, often working in challenging and dangerous conditions, strive to locate and rescue those trapped or stranded by the disaster. It's a race against time, as every minute matters when lives are on the line. Providing medical care is another key aspect of the response. In the aftermath of the earthquake, medical teams worked tirelessly to treat the injured and provide care to those in need. Triage, a system used to prioritize patients based on the severity of their injuries, was implemented to ensure that those in the most critical condition received care first. Throughout all of this, the role of local authorities was paramount. Their guidance and directives helped to coordinate the response and ensure that efforts were focused where they were needed most. Whether it was issuing evacuation orders, setting up temporary shelters, or coordinating relief efforts, their leadership was essential in navigating the chaos of the disaster. In crisis situations like this, it's vital that we follow the guidance of these authorities. They have the knowledge and experience to make the best decisions for the safety and well-being of the community. When we follow their guidance, we become part of the solution rather than adding to the problem. After the immediate threat passes, the focus shifts to recovery and rehabilitation. Recovering from an earthquake is a long-term process, often lasting far beyond the immediate aftermath. It's a time of rebuilding, not just of homes and infrastructure, but also of lives and communities. It's about picking up the pieces and starting anew, but with the wisdom and resilience born from adversity. In the wake of the earthquake that shook the Sea of Japan in 2024, the recovery and rehabilitation efforts were immense. It wasn't just about clearing the rubble, mending broken roads or restoring power lines. It was about healing a community that had been through a tremendous ordeal, and ensuring that everyone affected had the support they needed to rebuild their lives. Mental health support played a crucial role in these efforts. Traumatic events like earthquakes can leave deep psychological scars, and it's essential to address these as part of the recovery process. Counselors and mental health professionals were on hand to provide therapy and support, helping survivors cope with their experiences and move forward. But the recovery process was not just about professional support. It was also about how the community came together in the wake of disaster. Neighbors helped neighbors, strangers became friends, people shared resources, offered help, and worked together to rebuild their community. This sense of unity and mutual support was a crucial part of the healing process. Rebuilding efforts were extensive and ongoing, aimed at restoring normalcy as quickly as possible. But it was also important to remember that normal would look different after the disaster. The community would be forever changed by their shared experience, but with every rebuilt home and every reopened business, there was a sense of hope and resilience. Recovery is only part of the process. The final stage is learning from the disaster and implementing measures to reduce vulnerability. This involves analyzing what happened, understanding how it could have been prevented or mitigated, and putting measures in place for the future. It's a process of growth and improvement, ensuring that when the next disaster strikes, we'll be even better prepared. Every disaster carries with it a lesson. The Sea of Japan earthquake is no different. The catastrophic event redefines our understanding of nature's fury and prompts us to reassess our preparedness. It's a stark reminder of our vulnerability to future earthquakes and the importance of mitigation measures. Mitigation is an active, ongoing process that requires us to learn from past disasters and implement measures to reduce our vulnerability. In the case of the Sea of Japan earthquake, this means evaluating our building codes, identifying potential hazards, and developing strategies to reduce risk. For instance, we could reinforce structures to withstand seismic activity or zone residential areas away from fault lines. Yet mitigation isn't just about infrastructure, it's about people too. It's about ensuring we're prepared for when disaster strikes. Preparedness measures like vaccinations and evacuation plans are crucial. Vaccinations help prevent the spread of diseases in the aftermath of a disaster when conditions may be ripe for outbreaks. Evacuation plans, on the other hand, ensure people know where to go and what to do when an earthquake hits. These plans can save countless lives, but they're only effective if people are aware of them and understand them. The Sea of Japan earthquake also underscores the importance of communication systems. In the chaos that follows a disaster, being able to communicate effectively is key. It can mean the difference between life and death. That's why we need to invest in robust, resilient communication systems that can withstand the impact of a disaster and keep us connected when we need it most. In the wake of the Sea of Japan earthquake, we're reminded of the importance of learning from disaster. It's a hard-earned lesson, but one that makes us stronger. As we learn from each disaster, we become better prepared for the next. The Sea of Japan earthquake was a reminder of nature's power and unpredictability. This devastating event began with the shifting of tectonic plates beneath the ocean's surface, a common cause of earthquakes worldwide. The quake struck western Japan on New Year's Day, 2024, triggering tsunami warnings and causing widespread injuries, deaths, and power outages. In the face of this disaster, Japan's response was immediate and multifaceted. Search and rescue operations were launched, medical care was provided, and resources were quickly allocated. These efforts were followed by the lengthy process of recovery and rehabilitation, which included providing mental health support to those affected. Lastly, we looked at how Japan learned from this disaster to mitigate future risks. Despite the magnitude of the earthquake, Japan's preparation, response, recovery, and mitigation efforts showcased their resilience and commitment to safety. While we cannot prevent natural disasters, understanding them and being prepared can make a world of difference.